Hi, I didn't see you standing there. Come on in. I was just in here thinking about a few things. If you don't mind, why don't you click subscribe and meet me over in the study and we'll have a chat. Well, I didn't really want to talk about this issue yet. Well, I just don't have the luxury of time, I guess. I wanted to put my research into this really awesome video with some disembodied hands doing some really lovely, super entertaining graphic animations. Maybe a bit of Alice restaurant style explanations, sort of pictures with circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one. But as I said, sometimes time is a luxury, so I guess it's just going to be me having a bit of a chat here for right now. At least 5 or 10 times a day, I hear political, ideological marketing messages. And I don't watch a lot of TV, and I currently do not participate in social media. But yet I still get bombarded with these messages. I can't imagine what it's like for people who watch a lot of TV or who do a lot of social media. Now, in particular, we currently have a southern border issue. I did a lot of academic research on this particular issue. And the current public narrative is nothing more than a myopic, ideological, political marketing campaign. It has no basis in fact. It's all based on emotion, and it's right now emotion. This is not a case of perspective ideology. No, this is just plain lied to. Intentionally keeping information out of the public narrative. Keeping in mind that certain ideologies are being proselytized to the general population by groups like Society for Open Borders or American Friends Service Committee. I mean, there's a bunch of them. I don't remember. Why are there no groups telling people the truth? I mean, because anything these people don't approve of is considered racist, xenophobic, or hate speech, even if it's the truth. It can be done. It can be done effectively. It can be done affordably, and it can be done and needs to be done loudly. The undeniable historical truth about the United States' porous southern border is that that border has been kept as a point of contention politically for decades. And there's a good reason. Because the porousness of the border functions as a sort of a turnstile, if you will. The border's porousness has limited, or in the past somewhat limited, the number of people crossing at any given time. Whereas an open border would simply just drain Central and South America within weeks. The porousness has for decades maintained a sort of ebb and flow of people and money. So people come, money goes back. People come, money goes back. This cycle has spun along for decades and has been enforced and defended by many within the political establishment. And it has nothing to do with empathy for any people of any color. It has nothing to do with any altruistic drive. It has only to do with money and cheap labor. And the cheap labor that supports the businesses that make big political donations. It's not nice and it's not pretty, but it's true. That border, being porous as it is, doesn't help anybody but certain businesses. The remittance payments that are sent back prop up a virtually ignored population of Central and South America. However, they only continue to perpetuate a redundant cycle. Here's a really basic Richard Feynman style explanation of the cycle. Richard Feynman was a physicist who believed you had to get down to the very simplest in your explanations. Someone sneaks across the border. They work in the United States or Canada. They send money back in the form of remittance payments. The remittance payments are spent on basic necessities. They work in the United States or Canada. They send money back in the form of remittance payments. The remittance payments are spent on basic necessities. They work in the United States. They send money back in the form of remittance payments. Remittance payments are spent on basic necessities. There's no progress in this cycle, and never has been any progress for Central and South America. This is nothing more than a self-perpetuating cycle, and worse. There's never been any real reckoning for the American economy for its unacceptable reliance on illegal immigrants. Illegal migrants. America we had slave labor, then child labor, indentured servitude, then illegal migrants. We've got to not rely and create and foster an underclass. As long as the southern border is porous, South America will continue to be abandoned, left to the old, the ill, the corrupt politicians who are in bed doing the nasty with the drug trafficking cartels. The desire and the drive for that something better has to remain in South America, or it can never get any better there. It can only continue to deteriorate. So why don't I hear some of these radio commercials or TV commercials? These are just kind of slapped together, but it sort of gives you an idea of what I'm thinking in terms of ideology. Let me know what you think. I don't hate South Americans or South America. Do you? I do hate that my country's porous southern border functions to entice the vibrant, hard-working energy and talent away from South America, enticing South Americans to abandon it to corrupt politicians and drug cartels. Stop this cycle of condemnation. Demand a non-porous southern border and demand NGO reform. Because without it, South America will only continue its downward spiral, and the United States will only continue profiting from South America's loss. How can you help save South America? The porous southern border acts as an enticement for many South Americans. This influx of off-the-books, low-cost, no-tax-paid labor unfairly props up many industries in the United States at the epic expense of the entirety of South America. While South America is condemned to a cycle of corrupt politicians, gang violence, and drug cartels, the United States gets her yards landscaped and her hotel rooms clean. The current situation is not a win-win. Stop the cycle of usury and condemnation of South America and South Americans. Help South America retain her people who want change and who have the drive and the ability to effect change, instead of allowing the United States to suck away all of South America's vibrant energy and talent. Demand a non-porous southern border and demand NGO reform. I do not hate South America. I do not hate South Americans. I do hate that my country's porous southern border functions to entice the vibrant, hard-working energy and talent away from South America, enticing South Americans to abandon it to corrupt politicians and drug cartels. Stop the cycle of condemnation. Demand a non-porous southern border and demand NGO reform, because without it, South America will only continue its downward spiral, and the United States will only continue profiting from South America's loss. The national narrative is genuinely robbing the public of the truth. The general public is only getting one side of the story. Why is this? I don't understand. Why is this? Somebody tell me why this is happening.